Hello，你好，欢迎回来，Welcome back to Wisdom Wednesday with Johnny Tiger on Wednesday, October 6th, 2021. You guys, those of you that have been following my podcast and watching my video, you are very familiar with my nickname, stage name by now, Johnny Tiger. I just said it like no, less than 30 seconds ago. Now, some people, especially those of you that check out my music on Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that, you know me there as Johnny ST Tai. There you go. If you have not, and if you wish to search for my albums on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, search for Johnny space ST space Tai. Uh, Now, a lot of people asked, what is ST? Is that Johnny Saint Thai or Johnny Street Thai? What is that? What's the ST for? It actually stands for Johnny Smiling Tiger Thai. Because I have not always just been Johnny Tiger. In the very beginning, when I was a teenager, when the Tiger nickname first uh, came about. I was called Johnny the Smiling Tiger. Later, it got abbreviated to Johnny the Tiger or Johnny Tiger. The Smiling Tiger had not been used or known uh, for quite a long time now. But yeah, that is what the ST stands for. So suffice to say, I have always had a kind of a bit of a connection, I feel a bit of a connection to tigers uh, from the very first day when this nickname came to be. In fact, my connection to tigers probably go way back to when I was born. I might have mentioned this during one Soul Search Sunday episode, but when I was born, my grandmother, my father's mom, had a prophecy. Now, I don't know how many of you believe in things like that, but uh, among the older generation in Chinese culture, in Taiwanese culture, prophecy was a big thing. We didn't just like laugh it off or take it lightly. Uh, my grandmother, when I was born, she had a prophecy that said this child is going to be the tiger that is trapped in the city by a pack of wild dogs. This child is going to be a tiger that's trapped in the city by a pack of wild dogs. Chinese old Chinese proverb says "虎落平阳被犬欺"，龙入沙滩被虾戏. Something along that line. I might have bungled that second part. But basically, what it means is it describes a person who is very capable or very, very influential or very rich, suddenly finding themselves in a circumstance where they have no way to make use of what they are good at. So they end up being at the mercy of much lesser folk because of their circumstances. The entire proverb goes something like uh, a tiger out of the woods will be taunted by dogs, a dragon out of water will be bullied by fish and shrimp, uh, or out of deep water, actually. So basically, a dragon can only be really majestic when it's in deep water, just like a tiger can only be very effective when it's in the woods, in the forest. As I grew up more and more, I started to feel that that prophecy was very accurate because there are so many things that I want to do that I probably could have done a lot better if I didn't just happen to have the circumstance of being totally blind and partially deaf. Just think how much further I might have gone in the martial art world if I had full use of my eyesight. That's just one of the examples. So, do I feel like a tiger that is trapped in the city, is out of his element, and ended up being uh, 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 attacked and bullied by dogs? Yeah, I can totally relate to that. So, today, after all that preambling, you probably realize now we are going to talk about tiger. In Mandarin, tiger is Lao Hu, Lao Hu, Lowhu, Lao Hu, Lao Hu, tiger. Tiger has always been part of very deeply embedded in Chinese culture, being one of the four great guardian beasts that guarded and fought over the world. It was the dragon, the phoenix, the tiger, and the black tortoise. Now, in some other legends, the black tortoise get replaced by the holy beast Kirin. Uh, so whether that number four is the tortoise or the Kirin is up for debate, depending on uh, which religion and which mythology we're following. But the first three is always the dragon, the phoenix, and the tiger. The tiger was the guardian of the West and was the buffer between the mortal world and all the demonic evil entities that came from the underworld. So the tiger has always played a high import in the lives of Chinese people. And once upon a time, tigers were commonplace in China. Today, I'm just going to take the city of Beijing because that's one of the biggest, most popular, most commonly known city, most famous city in China. Just in the China of Beijing alone, there has been a lot of references to tigers, and some of these references have some interesting background. Take, for example, there's a place in Beijing called the Tiger Defense Bridge. The Tiger Defense Bridge, Hufangqiao. Now, a lot of people who go there probably have no idea why is this. Why is it called Tiger? Like, do people have to defend themselves against tiger apocalypse or what? Why is this place called Tiger Defense Bridge? Well, this goes back to the Ming Dynasty. So let's backtrack about uh, 300, 400 years. In Ming Dynasty, there was a very famous, I wouldn't say popular, but very famous Ming emperor by the name of Zhengde. Zhengde, he was also called Zhengde the Martial Emperor. Uh, Now, while being called the martial emperor sounds very badass, unfortunately Zhengde was not known as one of the better emperors in Chinese history. He was known to be a bit of a flake, a bit of a, how shall we say, troublemaker. He never wanted to spend time to look at how to make the country better. Zheng De spent every day of his life trying to figure out new ways of having fun. His whole thing about being emperor was about having fun. And one of his ways of having fun was to keep some pets. But unlike the rest of us, Zheng was not content with keeping mm, guinea pigs, cats, and dogs. No, the Emperor Zheng wanted big pets, badass pets. He had elephants, he had panther, leopards, and of course, he had tigers. Um,
The time is now 4 p.m.
right now, the place where we called Tiger Defense Bridge back then was a bit of a lake, shall we say, like a river, a creek, uh, with an uh, island in the middle. And that island had a big pit dug in the center. That's where Emperor Zheng kept his favorite tigers in the pit. And there's a bridge that allowed the emperor and his people to go from the island back to the main land, and because that was a bridge that had to be heavily guarded in case of the tiger escaping. That bridge became known as the Tiger Defense Bridge. Now there's no water there anymore, but the area is still called Tiger Defense Bridge. Now, being the emperor's favorite tiger might sound like a good gig, but Zheng De was a little bit of a sick and twisted individual. Uh, his idea of having fun was he would go and stand on the edge of the pit, and he would gaze down upon his tigers. And if the tigers looked back at him, and if he felt that the tigers were disrespecting him, then Zheng De Emperor would go down there into the pit. I'm not even making this up. This is all there in real history. Zheng De was also known as the martial emperor who fought tigers for fun. Uh, Here in Canada, we hear about some hunters killing grizzly bears, black bears with a knife. We heard in the histories people fighting lions and tigers in the gladiatory uh, arena. We saw someone fighting tiger in the Gladiator movie. Well, this actually happened. It wasn't a gladiator, it was the emperor himself. Zheng De would go down into the pit uh, with a sword and armor and shield, and he would stay in there and duke it out with the tiger until he killed the tiger with his own hand. Uh, that's what happened if he felt that the tiger was not paying him enough respect. He would go down and show the tiger who's the boss, just himself. I mean, yeah, that's kind of badass, really. Uh, Despite of Zheng De being not much of an emperor, I will say him willing to actually go down into the pit. Granted, he was wearing armor and he was carrying a sword, but still, that's some uh, relatively badass thing. um, However, of course, tiger's a dangerous animal, and Zheng De wasn't uh, like a superb warrior or anything. So there was this one time when he went down there and somehow he tripped, and the tiger ended up on top of him and was about to maim him and kill him. And in the end, one of the escort, one of his Secret Service people, had to jump in there and rescue him. That Secret Service warrior was named Zhang Bin. Zhang Bin later, because he rescued the emperor from being killed by a tiger, he was rewarded handsomely and became one of the most influential ministers by the emperor's side. Uh, so it is doubly ironic that in the end, when Zheng the emperor was assassinated, Zhang Bin was one of the people responsible. So you can say he saved the emperor and then he killed the emperor in the end. That's just how politics go sometimes. Near the Tiger Defense Bridge, there is a little side street called uh, Iron Gate Avenue. It's named so because back then, when you get off of the bridge and get back on the mainland, there is a final line of defense, just in case the tiger does get across the bridge. There was a huge, heavy iron portcullis that could be dropped down and seal the area in. Now, even though that portcullis is not there anymore, uh, it's still known as a Iron Gate Avenue. Now, because Zhengde Emperor killed so many of his favorite tigers in mortal combat, just imagine anytime he was bored, anytime he felt a tiger disrespected him, he had to go down there and fight it. Anyway, so he killed a lot of them. So he always had to have backup tigers. So near the Iron Gate Avenue, there is another side street called Second Favor Avenue. Second Favor Avenue. This was originally the uh, barnyard, or the you can say the shed or the area. Uh, Backup tigers were kept and fed. Every time one is killed by the emperor on the island, another one would be transported over to the island from the Second Favor Avenue and put in the pit. Near the west of Beijing, there is a little bridge, another bridge called Three Tiger Bridge. This bridge has been there for a long, long time. As far as anyone can figure, this bridge was once upon a time called God Tiger Bridge. God Tiger Bridge. And this bridge has been there since at least 500 years ago. This was the main bridge for people to transport goods in and out of Beijing's uh, proper, uh, using carts and wagons. On the bridge, there were four tiger statues, two on each side. Now, you see a lot of bridges in China, especially old bridges, that have stone statues, tigers, lions, elephants, whatever. And if you ask people, they're going to tell you there's all this mythological reason because this is a guardian and this is guard against evil spirit, blah blah blah. Yeah? Those are just romanticized reasoning. Uh, Chinese people were always very practical. They didn't put these statues there just because they thought there was an evil spirit. These statues were on the bridge for a very specific reason. Obviously, reason number one was they look good. Reason number two, the most important reason why, next time people ask you why are there stone statues on the side of the bridge, you can tell them this is a real reason. The real reason is these statues were there sort of as a speed bump plus a limit setting. Uh, Back then, they realized that sometimes some of these wagons were too big, too heavy, and they damaged the bridge. So putting stone statues there allowed them to limit on how wide the cart had to be. So only cart and wagons that were under the limit could go onto the bridge. Otherwise, they would run into the statue. That's what these statues were. That they were there to stop overly large vehicles from being able to go onto the bridge. So this bridge was originally called God Tiger Bridge, and it had four tiger statues. In the textbook for Chinese children, there's a little story about one night, one of the statues was touched by heavenly forces, and the statue came alive and wandered off the bridge and was never seen again. And that is why it's called Three Tigers Bridge, because there's only three statues left. As far as historians can figure out, uh, no, the statue didn't just wander off the bridge. What happened was there was a particular year where the city got flooded. There was a bit of a tsunami from the wave and water, and a giant wave washed over the bridge, and one of the statues tumbled into the water and got washed away. Uh, Maybe it is still buried in there somewhere at the bottom of the Great River or the Yellow River. Who knows? But anyway, uh, that is a scientific explanation why the God Tiger Bridge became the Three Tiger Bridge. Where one of the community college in Beijing stands today, it used to be a monastery called the Tiger God Temple. And this monastery was directly inside the Western Gate, and people who transport goods in and out of the Western city, uh, going to Western China, coming from Western China, would pay tribute at the Tiger God Temple, to for the god Tiger God to bless them, so they wouldn't get attacked by tigers in on their journey. Uh, the temple is not there anymore, but all its statues and original artifacts and decorations have been preserved in the little museum in the community college, which sit upon where the temple once stood. There's an old Chinese adage that says, if you want to fight a tiger, be, you have to go with your sibling. If you want to fight a war, you have to be father and son. When I was little, my father would use this quote to try to inspire me and my brothers to work together, to love each other all the time. Anytime me and my brother had a fight or argument, my dad would bring this out and say, "Don't forget, 打虎亲兄弟, uh, 父子兵. Uh, don't forget, if you want to fight a tiger, you can only trust your brothers. If you want to fight a war, you can only trust your father or your son. Uh, we're family. Family have to trust each other, work together." Now, where did this come from? Where did this quote come from? Well, apparently, historically, this quote came from a tiger incident. Again, this was in the Ming Dynasty, so 500 or 600 years ago. Um, One tiger got into Beijing proper, whether from escaping from the pit or coming in through the western mountains. No one really knew. But a tiger got into the city proper and started mauling and killing and attacking people left, right, and center. Everyone was really scared. People were too scared to go out at night. The emperor at the time, Emperor Yin, uh, called together some of his most brave warriors and put together a 300 people squad to go. I said, "Go! I want you guys to go hunt down that tiger, but there's one condition: you're not allowed to kill it. I want that tiger alive. I want to keep it in the pit. So no killing the tiger." Now that makes the job a lot more difficult. When you think, if you just want to kill a tiger, then you can just shoot it with arrows or stick a spear through it. If the emperor say you're not allowed to kill it, oh boy, now how are you going to deal with it? It's not like they had tranquilizers back then. So The guy who led the squad, the tiger capture uh, squad, the tiger catchers, was uh, uh, the name a guy named Shun Min. Uh, Shun Min. Shun Min had his son as his second in command. So Shun Min and his son and the tiger catchers wandered everywhere in the city, and just as luck would have it, before they could find the tiger found them. And before anyone knew what was going down, the tiger pounced on Shun Min and knocked him off his horse and was on top of him, just ready to bite his head off. Everyone was thinking that Shun Min was doomed because no, everyone was too scared to go in there and try to rescue him. Again, it would be easy if you could actually kill the tiger, but the emperor specifically said no killing the tiger. So everyone stood back and watched in horror as the tiger was ready to chomp down on Shun Min. And this was when Shun Min's son, his second in command, jumped in there, tried to rescue his dad, grabbed the tiger by the tail. Those of you who watched Jungle Book know what I'm talking about. He just basically had a Baloo moment where, like the black bear or brown bear, he grabbed the tiger by the tail and dragged the tiger off his dad. And just as the tiger was dragged off Shun Min, finally the rest of the tiger catchers made up their mind, and uh, 300 of them piled on top of the tiger and was able to pin it down and tie it up and capture it. Uh, so ever since that incident, when Shun Min's son rescued his dad from the jaws of a tiger by literally grabbing the tiger by his tail, this quote came into existence. If you want to fight a tiger, you got to be brothers. If you want to go to war, you got to be father and son. Basically means when the tiger was about to eat you, everyone else was too scared to react, but only your family would save you. Now, all these tiger stories just came from Beijing city alone. Uh, if we want to look at the influence of tigers throughout other part of China, we would be here for the rest of the day. There are so many tales, legends, names of places, names of bridges and avenues and streets and cities that still bear the influence and as a testament to how widely spread tigers were in China once upon a time. It is a shame that now the only place you can see tigers in China is in the zoo, but people at least now have learned that tigers are majestic and endangered animal to be protected and to be respected and of course feared. Fear me. I am Johnny Tiger, and I have spoken. Brr.